SKIL have sent me a whole ruck of their cordless power tools, which are coming soon in the UK. There's only one thing for it. I've got to get all of these into an epic power tool wall. So let's get it all unboxed. Super bright, that light, isn't it? Look at that. Oh, I've not seen that before. Look at that as well. And you've got two different settings, high and low. That is pretty unique. Favourite thing so far has to be the fact they're all red and black. Perfect colour. And I do love the branding and the feel of everything. Everything feels solid. Right, so that's everything unboxed, and my first impressions are all of this stuff is of a great high quality. You can feel it's all heavy and it's all brushless, all 20 volts, and it's just got a nice solid feel to it. A lot of the stuff has got LEDs on it as well, so there is like a unique benefit to these, because there are obviously quite a lot of power tool brands, so to have a unique feature which differentiates them is good. So I can see they're 20 volt, most stuff's 18 volt, and they've all got these LEDs, and they're not just like a little single LED. It's flipping bright. You look at this, it's super bright, but then also you've got different power settings. So you can kind of make it even brighter if you want to. I'm loving it, and it's all red, and I love the branding. It just looks so clean, the SKIL, S-K-I-L. Love that branding, looks really, really smart. And there's definitely enough here to make a really cool looking power tool wall behind me. So all of these panels are on a French cleat, so they all lift off. And the reason why is so we can change it, we can tweak it, and we can make it more relevant as we kind of realise what we use and what we're not using. And the one thing we have realised is that a bunch of this stuff I never use or never touch. The plan is to switch these smaller top frames out to, and these are from IKEA, if you didn't know, like I say, go back and watch the video, but these IKEA 50mm deep frames, and IKEA do them in a couple of different sizes, and they have this bigger size, which is brilliant for power tool walls. I'm going to use the same size frame for here, so we're going to do a row of 5 large frames across the top. But first things first, I can't use the white frames, they're not going to match. I'm going to need these exact frames but in black, so best head to IKEA. Right, so I'm back from IKEA, and I've got 12 of these Santa head frames. Now they have jumped up a little bit in price. I think the last time we did this project, they were maybe like 12, 13 pounds. They're now 19 pounds each, but it's still a bit of a saving when you think how much time I'm gonna save just using these rather than making my own frame. So I'm still quite happy with those. And you can see here, I've taken 2 of the frames down because I was having to think about the layout. Matt had the idea too, rather than putting them at the top, we're going to put them at the bottom, and that way the power tools are a little bit more close to hand, and also we're not getting super high to the ceiling. Everything is still above the sockets, so that is the new plan. And all I'm going to need to do now is take this pine strip wood. Now this is the same as the material we used for these original rails. We're going to chop it into about 45cm pieces, and we'll put a 45° on it with a skill saw, and we can use that for a new rail for these panels here. And essentially this panel will be mounted like that underneath, sat on a French cleat, and it should look very similar to what's there now, except for we'll be going from, what's that, 6, 7 in a row to 5 bigger ones. So it should look really good. So let's get into it. That is solid. I've done a few cuts with that now, and it cuts really, really well. And the main thing is, this is like slightly tapered, this guide here, and it does run really smoothly down the side of the board. It doesn't snag up, or sometimes a little bit of friction made it judder a little bit, and that doesn't do that. It runs really, really well. So I'm really happy with that. I think time to take the label off. Right, so that is the last backer in. We've got all 5 frames done now. So Time to cut some foam. We're going to need some foam 505mm by 505mm, and we'll be going for a 30mm and then a 70mm. That should be perfect. And we'll go and cut it on CNC. Let's get it done. Right, so while the CNC is doing its magic over there, I think it's time we sort out the cleats to go on the back of these frames. So, very similar to these panels. Let me just refresh your memory. Each one of these panels has got basically a 45-degree rail, which is equal and opposite to the 45-degree here on the wall. And that way they hang and you can put a lot of weight on that. So we have to add the same rail to these frames. And I've got a piece of the same pine strip wood from B&Q. And all we need to do is cut a 45-degree on this. Unfortunately, the SKIL saw does have the ability to cut 45 degrees. So I'll just move this to 45. We can see it's marked there. Whack that in place. And then I'm also going to use the rail because it doesn't really matter exactly where this 45-degree sits. Obviously, we don't want to cut it in half because we're going to waste a bunch of material.
Anything else is a waste of material.
That's the line where the blade is going to cut into the wood. So we're just going to cut it, let's say, a centimetre in, just so I've got a bit of meat to kind of bite into rather than having it right up close to the edge. So that is all I need to do to set up the saw. And when it comes to the actual pine strip wood, I think I might just chuck a clamp on here. Clamps! This here, be a quick gripper. That'll do us. Right, so that's that done, and I'm really happy with that. Obviously, if I had a table saw here, I could use a table saw, but doing it freehand with a SKIL saw, that is a really good result, so I'm happy with that. So we're going to cut this up into 5 equal pieces, 1 for each of the frames, and then we can pin them on the back and get them on the wall. So let's cut this up. So, that is 5 equal rails, which I'm really happy with. And you might be thinking, next step is just screw them on the back, which is one option, but it's not the option I'm gonna go for, because a bit of a top tip here, it's actually easier to kind of put that in place, and then we can attach the frame in exactly the position we need it. Because obviously we want this to be flush to the top, and then we can literally put screws through and get that in the exact right position. So, all we've got to do now is take that bottom row of frames down, and then we'll mount the first one in the middle, and then we'll go from there. There we go. So drill is smashing, really happy with this. I actually took this away camping with me and used it to put all my tent pegs in. So I've already had a little bit of use with it and I am loving it. And it's that light there. It stays on just long enough. So when you're kind of lining up what you're doing, the light stays on even without holding the trigger, which I love. So happy days with that. And there we go, that is all 5 frames mounted. So they've basically got the cleats on the back of them now, and they can still lift off. We have lift off. So all we need to do now is put the fronts on them. So we've got the foam, CNC has done its work, and we've got all of the foam panels. We've also got the frames to go on the front, and I'll show you what we're doing. So we'll take a 30mm piece, and then we'll have that red side up, and that's gonna sit in the back. And then we're going to have a 70mm piece with the black surface at the front, and that should also press into there. And then we're going to put the frame over the top of it all, and that is the finished look. Now, to attach the two together, we're just going to use some of this really heavy-duty floor tape. I tried a couple of different methods of attaching these together on previous builds, and this is actually the best because I can go around a couple of times, I get a nice slimline kind of seal, and that's how they do picture frames too, so it kind of makes sense. So, let's get them all done. Right, so there we have it, all up on the wall, and it looks really good. I'm really pleased with it, especially this little step. I think that's quite a nice little bit of detail, and obviously all of these frames are double wide, so we can put the power tools in them. We've put the top frames back on as well. I had to adjust them slightly, and we have rejigged the order, because some of the frames, I didn't use the tools very much. We probably will revisit these and change them up a little bit, but for now, the focus is these bottom 5 panels. So I'll take these all back off the wall, get them on here, and let's do a layout. Right, so I've taken all the panels down and I've put the 3 middle ones on the table, and this is basically how I do layouts. You want to get the foam off the wall, lay it down like this, and then take your time. Rather than doing one panel at a time, I'm going to do all 3 of the center ones together, because essentially I think most of the tools are going to fit across those 3. So it's just a case now of taking all the items and just taking your time, figuring out what kind of slots in with what. You're trying to put together a bit of a jigsaw really, a loose jigsaw, but still maintain some sort of categories and some sort of order to it all. So for instance, the SDS drill might want to go with the other drills, and the saws might want to go together, plus any accessories that go with these items can go next to them, leaving space for some finger pulls. And then obviously we've also got all of the batteries, which I do like the idea of having these in facing forwards, because then you can press the battery indicator and you can see, and you can make double sure that they're full of charge before you take them out. So let's get into it. I'll see how long it takes to get me a perfect layout. Right, so that's the layout I've settled on. It took a little bit of jiggery pokery trying to get it to a point that I was happy with, but essentially we've got the 2 sanders over here, the multi-sander, the orbital sander, and the recip saw, and then we've got the accessories that go with them, which is these little bags for the kind of the dust. And I've set them up in a way that the SKIL logos will all be the right way up. I've also gone for a set of 5 batteries on each side, and I've got them facing this way just because they'll stand up. But when we cut them in, they'll be that way round, so you can click the battery icon and see if there's any power in the batteries, which I think is really cool. And it also frames this kind of trio of power tool panels, which I'm really happy with. In the middle, we've gone for the 2 circular saws. So this is the multi-saw, and then this is the classic kind of SKIL saw. So these are gonna go like that, and then we've got space for the jigsaw too, so it's 3 power tools on each panel really. And over here, same again, we've got the 3 drills, all the SKIL logos facing the right way, and then the accessories with them. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think that is a really nice balance, and up on the wall, it should look nice and balanced. So all we're gonna need is one of our cutting kits. A basic cutting kit is everything I'm gonna use to cut and shape the foam to make this power tool panel. And it couldn't be simpler. It's got a pair of anti-cut gloves, which you've got to wear when you're cutting foam using a scalpel. It's got the scalpel handle and the blades. It's got instructions, stickers. It's got forceps for putting the blades on the handle. So first things first, get the glove on, get my scalpel ready, and then we're going to pick an item. Now, probably going to start over here because it's some of the simpler items. And I'm going to pick maybe the impact driver, cut around it with a scalpel, making sure to capture the profile. So keeping the scalpel 90 degrees to the foam, cutting around it all the way around. And for the first pass, it doesn't matter how deep I go. We're just trying to capture the profile on the foam. Once we've got that, I can take the item out of the way and then cut down deep. So for this drill here, we're probably going to cut down about 50-60 mil. Now we've got a 70 mil layer and a 30 mil layer of foam here, so I can actually go all the way through the first layer. 70 mil will be more than enough. Once I've got some finger pulls there, it'll be dead easy to get the drill out, but it'll be held really snugly. And I'll do the same technique for all 3 of the drills. And for the batteries, I'll go all the way through the 70 mil layer, and I'll also go through a couple of layers into the 30 as well to make sure those batteries are held really snugly. So that's the process. All I've got to do now is get on with it. there we go, all done. Took a bit of time, I was taking extra care. Obviously this is going right behind me and I wanted it all right. And I also wanted everything held in tightly. That is the key really when you're doing these wall displays. You want everything held snugly so it's nice and safely housed in the wall. And obviously with these items in the middle, these were particularly difficult. They took a little bit longer because they're so deep. I've had to go all the way through. So this SKIL saw here, you can see it's quite a big 3D shape. There's no real like flat side to cut around. So essentially I've laid it on the surface and then, albeit trickily, I've used the scalpel to cut around this part here. And actually something that really helped was pushing down on the SKIL saw, made a bit of an impression on the foam so I could see exactly where that was hitting. So I cut that out first, and also this kind of lever here, we also cut around that. So you can see there's like a deeper section in the bottom which houses this kind of area. After cutting that out, the whole saw sat a little bit flusher to the foam and I was able to capture the outside profile, which is really important. Again, that I didn't have it baggy because we want it to be held really tightly, and it does. It's held perfectly. It sits right down to the base. You can see it protrudes by about probably 80 mil. And something like this was an interesting one because this orbital sander here has got like a little pipe section which pushes out a lot further than the rest. So what I did there was cut around the orbital shape and I ignored this pipe. And then what I've been able to do is tuck that underneath. So we've actually got a little kind of undercut here when that pipe slots into it, which keeps it looking nice and neat, and it doesn't have like a big hole square here that looks like just a lost hole. And there we go, there we have it. We've got the batteries down both sides, 5 batteries in a row. We've got the guides that go with this multi-saw and the SKIL saw are both next to them. The jigsaw has got its little dust pipe. These orbital sanders and this multi-sander both get their little extraction bags next to them. And that is it. That is everything organised in the foam inserts. I'm really happy with it. The only thing that it hasn't got is finger pulls, because a couple of these items, particularly the drills, it makes it easier to get these in and out of the wall when you're using them if they've got finger pulls. And to do that, all we're going to use is one of our stencil sets. Now these are, I think, they're $9.99 on the website, and it's basically 3 individual stencils with different size circles, moving up from 20 mil all the way up to 50 mil in small increments. And then we've also got a radius gauge in there. So the radius gauge is for doing corners, where you've basically put in a foam insert in a case and it might have a radius corner, and the circles are for doing finger pulls. So for a big drill like this, we're going to go for a large size hole, a large size finger pull. You know, on something small like a screwdriver, you might just use 20 mil, but that would look a little bit lost on this. So we'll go for 44 mil, and it's a very simple process. You just lay it where you want it to go. So we're going to be going for a finger pull either side of the trigger on that drill. So we just lay the stencil on top. We've got a semicircle there, which we just use the scalpel to cut around. Once we've got the shape of it, we can take that away, and I can cut that down. And we want to go down all the way to the same level that we peeled at. And that's just so your fingers can kind of like dip underneath the trigger of the impactor, the impact gun. So that's one done. And then for the other side, we're literally just going to line it up. So I'll flip it over, and we just want it to be equal and opposite. So we'll go for another semicircle, equal and opposite there. I'll go touch over, so it just looks like they line up. So there you go, that's really a nice quick little addition you can make to any liner just to make it that little bit easier to use. You can see that drill comes in and out now, dead easy. So I'm going to add finger pulls to all the other tools that need them, and then that will be it, and we'll get it up on the wall. So there we have it, all finished, and it looks amazing, I think. Obviously we've got 2 panels left and right, which are empty. That's where you guys come in. Let us know in the comments what you think we can add to this. What would you put in those 2 panels if this was your workshop? I'd love to know. I do read all the comments, so I will probably like and respond back to you as well. So let me know what you think could go in there. But yeah, there we have it, and a big thank you to SKIL for sending these power tools down, because I'm loving them. I think they're great quality and they make a great addition to the workshop, especially right here behind my workbench where I can get to them really easily. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Click the like button and let me know if you did enjoy it, and if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our future videos, and we'll see you in the next one.